Hey, I'm in here. But it looks like we may have about 30 some people in the session, which is surprising to me. I didn't know what to expect when I signed up to do this thing or not. I'm not super well known on Medium. I do
Oh,
publish on the platform. Occasionally, I've written in some comedy publications, some essay publications. I have at least one film review up, some flash fiction. So I bounce around in Medium, and I don't know that I'm known for anything in the writing world, but if I am even slightly known for a single thing, it would be for writing about a kind of an obscure niche topic called strength and conditioning. and I've That's what I'm here to talk about today. Really, turning a hobby or subject matter interest into a niche writing opportunity for yourself. And I don't want to mislead anybody. That's not the easiest thing to do. It can take a lot of hard work to develop the sort of connections that might be able to get your work published and noticed. But it can also be pretty rewarding because you're writing about a topic that you know something or quite a bit about. And so let me share a little bit about my journey and how I started writing about strength training. So, like a lot of young men growing up in the 80s, I had an interest in sports and physical training and whatnot, and I started training with weights, but I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And so I looked around for different sources of information and found the typical mainstream stuff not super helpful. I see these moderation things popping up at the bottom. I'm just accepting these, so hopefully that's correct. Um, but I was doing everything wrong. The typical mainstream advice wasn't very helpful, and I stumbled across an article in a magazine by a guy who, in a big newsstand magazine, by a guy who was offering a special on a subscription to a niche publication that he published on his own. And I really liked the message in the article. It set some things straight for me and resonated with me. And so I reached out and subscribed to this guy's sort of fledgling at the time magazine and bought a book he had written. And he ended up publishing that magazine for 14 years. So long run, 15 maybe. And over that time, we actually became friends, and I contributed articles to his magazine later. Once I got some experience, once I knew a little bit about what I was doing, and could share some of my experience with others in a way that might benefit them. I contributed, I don't know, 7 or 8 articles toward the end of his run with that magazine. And really enjoyed that, got sort of a little bit of a foothold. And then, unfortunately, the internet came along and sort of killed the print publishing industry for these little niche publications like this. And he folded his magazine after a wonderful run. And so my outlet for writing was gone. So where do you go from there? Well, where do you go when you're even starting? Well, you look around like I did, and hopefully, and now with places like Medium, you can search for your interest area and submit to them, and possibly have a lot better avenues to success than I had back then pre-internet. I literally had to look around for different sources that might be interested in the type of content I was putting out and just submit to them blindly. And it was a tough go after this gentleman folded up his magazine. But I did find 3 or 4 places that would publish my work sporadically over a period of time. So I kept in the game, and I kept writing, and I kept practicing. And then finally, this fellow who had the magazine from 1990 to 2004, I believe, decided a couple of years ago to join the online world and start a new iteration of his magazine. And he invited me to be a feature columnist for it. And I've been writing a 2,000-word column for this magazine, paid, ever since. I think I'm up to 28 columns now, monthly columns. And all of this sort of diligent work that I put in over the years to, number one, cultivate my expertise in an area, and then number two, learn how to write about it. And number three, develop relationships with different people who might be able to help me, is what eventually led to this, which is by far the best freelance writing opportunity I've ever had in a subject matter that's of quite a bit of interest to me. I've done freelance copywriting. I'm a copywriter for a living for a finance firm, but I'm passionate about strength and conditioning. I love writing about those. And that's sort of my journey and how I got started in it. And I think there are some lessons possibly in that for folks like you. The other great thing about it is that once I had established a voice in one area and had some confidence in my ability to write about one topic that I knew something about, that gave me the courage to branch out and write about some of these other things. And that's been slow going as well at times, but little by little, I've found success on Medium and have found some publications that think my work is good enough to publish it. And I don't think any of that would be possible in any of these other genres that I've played around with if I hadn't first developed a writing voice in something I knew something about. So that's sort of my takeaway message for you. It's great if you can just sit down and write about anything and you already have that well-established writing acumen. But I did not at first. It was practice makes perfect for me. And the best way to practice was to at least have a comfort level with the subject matter that I was writing about. So I hope there are some lessons in there for you all. I had a couple of questions sort of related to this, although it might not be apparent at first how they're related. But I was curious if somebody would dump it into the Q&A. How many of you have submitted to publications on Medium? And then the second part, how many of you have been rejected on different submissions you've made? And how did that make you feel? I would love it if somebody would answer those questions, because that's a huge part of the writing process and what you go through in those initial stages of trying to find your niche and your audience. I know how it makes most people feel. You can be disappointed, dejected, feel like giving up, quitting. And the old standard advice is drag yourself up off the mat and submit again. And I think that can be helpful, but only to a certain extent. I think really maybe what could be more helpful, although it's all depends on your personality, it's only natural to feel that way when you're rejected. But if you could just flip that switch a little bit and turn that dejected, disheartened, whatever, discouraged, all the D words I can come up with, feeling when you have a submission rejected, into almost a little bit of cockiness about your writing, I think that could help. I mean, I figure if you're writing and you're passionate about it, then somewhere inside you know that you're pretty good at it and you have a voice, even if it hasn't been recognized yet. And so I would encourage you to when you do get a rejection, because you're going to get a lot of them. I've had a ton of them over the years. When you get a rejection, go ahead and lick your wounds for a little bit, but then turn that rejection somehow into more determination, almost to show that person that you are a good writer, and your stuff deserves to be out there for the world to see. I almost get a little angry about it and defensive when I get rejected. Now, I never take that out on the person rejecting my submission. I'm always polite, but I try to turn that hurt into motivation or fuel to get out there and submit again, and hopefully have a better result. So just some food for thought there as you go through this process of trying to find publications that will take your submissions. Let's see, I'm looking up at the clock here. I'm not too sure how well. I had in mind to maybe speak for about 10 or 15 minutes, and we're at the 10-minute mark here. So I would love it if somebody in the room would submit a question about the process of sort of finding your niche audience. And I can just keep yammering, I guess, until somebody does ask a question. But obviously, the first step is to find out what you're good at. What are you interested in? What do you know something about that maybe other people don't know that you can write about? Is it gardening or knitting, or I don't know, finding great shopping deals? I've submitted a few movie reviews, and there are some people out there that just know an incredible amount about pop culture and can write effusively about it. So, maybe something like that is an option. But for me, it was obvious. I had the one main interest area in strength and conditioning. I wanted to learn everything about it that I could, so I did. And then once I'd amassed some knowledge, that's exactly what I did. I started trying to share it with the world through publishing. And I'll also add what I've been doing recently. And so I know how to get published in the strength and conditioning world now. I'm a little bit established, although there are some mainstream magazines that my viewpoints don't align with, and they would never take my stuff. But by and large, I know where to go with my material and how to get it published in that world today. But if I write something vastly off topic, and I do sometimes, you can see some of it on my Medium profile, I have to do what you do. I go out there and Google search Medium publications, find publications that might align with those interest areas. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. And seek those places out and submit, and just request to be added as a writer, submit something, see what happens, read articles on those publications to get a feel for what they're doing. I'll confess, sometimes I get excited about something I've written and I just want to find a home for it. And so I don't do as much due diligence with some of these publications as I should, reading to get a clear sense of exactly what they're after. I just jump out there and submit it a little bit and hope for the best. And that probably will, give you a lower hit rate in the long run than actually doing some of that upfront research to see if your material is a good fit. But there's no real secret there. I search the Medium publications and topics just like everyone else when I'm trying to find a home for some brand new work outside my main area of expertise. So that really, honestly, is about all I have. I was hoping folks would jump in and ask a few questions. So please feel free to post anything you want to ask me about niche subject matter and how to find a place to put it. I do see we have some people that have joined the session, so that's nice. Oh, there we go. All right, let's just run through some of these. Are you ever concerned about a lack of formal education in a niche area? How do you deal with imposter syndrome? Man, that's a great question. And I think I would be in some areas. I'm actually a certified strength and conditioning specialist. So while my degree is in a different area, I do have some training, some formal training in the area I'm writing in. And that imposter syndrome is real. I suffer from that in my job, probably more so. I mean, when it comes to the strength and conditioning stuff, I've been doing it for so long that I really do feel like I stack up pretty well in terms of knowledge with a lot of other people. There's certainly people that know more than me, but you know, I would say if you don't have education in the area, that your work is going to have to be really strong and it's going to have to speak for itself. You're going to really have to show people that you know what you're talking about. That's a great question, though. I don't know that I have a lot more to add to that. Now, the imposter syndrome part, I think, goes back to my earlier comments of I know it's hard, but you got to try to develop a little bit of a thick skin to say, you know what, everybody's an imposter. Maybe these people don't know any more about this than I do. So great question. Got my niche, but how to schedule and organize the articles. Ha, man. Now, I don't know if you're talking about articles you've already written or articles you hope to write, but the main thing is to just get something on paper. Write that first one. And I would say focus on one. You know, for me, I can't be writing 3 or 4 different pieces at once. I really have to commit to one and finish it before I start another. Now I can be taking notes on another one, jotting down some ideas, but the hardcore writing work, you know, I would do them sequentially. So I hope that helps answer that question. Can you discuss a little? I want to get through a bunch of these. I think I wasn't looking in the right place, so a whole bunch of them have popped up here. Can you discuss a little about any differences in writing on a topic as you're learning it versus writing as an authority on the topic? I sure can, Heather. I won't reveal your last name, but yes, I absolutely can. And what I do is I can look back at some of my earlier work. And I wouldn't say it's cringeworthy because I waited until I had some expertise before I started writing. But it definitely was not as nuanced as the stuff I've produced later. And that's just to be expected. You know, it's a learn as you go process. And you'll get better at, I used to take more of a hard line, like almost like do it this way. There's one right answer. And as I learned more, I realized there were a lot more valid perspectives. And I started being better at acknowledging them in my writing without diluting the quality of the message. And I think that's a tricky balancing act. You know, you don't want to appear to be too wishy-washy, but you can also, somebody who actually shared their camera, welcome. But you can also acknowledge that there are other viewpoints that are certainly as valid as your own. And I think that helps your writing be quite a little bit more well-rounded. So that's a great question. Yeah, I wasn't seeing your questions, Ted. Thank you. Now I am, though. Boy, I just read these, and if I get one that I can't answer, it'll be kind of embarrassing because I'm just doing them in real time. If you have a niche and you want to write about something unrelated, what do? Are you concerned you will muddy your profile? that could be a concern. I mean, if you're really an expert in a certain area and you want to be known as the expert in that area, then maybe you should keep your profile just to that. For me, it's a little different. I don't write about any strength and conditioning topic on Medium. I think I will at some point, but right now my outlet for that is through this magazine that I write this monthly column for, that's available digitally, and so Medium is more exploratory for me. So in that sense, I'm not muddying the waters. I keep them separate, but I can definitely see how that could be a concern for you. And I think, Bernadette, if you're starting out and really developing your voice in that area, maybe it could be best for you to just keep your profile devoted to that. I don't know if you could start a second profile. I don't know. I need to think that through a little bit better. But my gut here is telling me that you're onto something, and that could hurt your ability to establish yourself. So where can we go to publish without having to pay? Well, you can publish on Medium without paying. And I was a non-paying Medium member for a long time, before recently joining as a paying member. And some of the publications do not hold that against you. They picked up my stories and ran them. And I'm not sure what the current rule is. Ed, you're on camera.
I just realized that.
That's all right, man. So you can publish on Medium without paying, or at least unless they've changed the rules recently. And some of the publications will even pick you up. Now, I think you have a better chance of integrating into the platform. I've seen that in the time I've been a member, if you are a paying member at $5 a month. But that's not an impediment on Medium. And of course, it's not as popular as it used to be. I have a blog. My blog is, obviously I don't pay for my blog, and it does have an audience and it does get a reasonable view count. But it took me a while to get to that level. So, and of course you can also always submit, anywhere. I do searches, and I've submitted to some publications that may never take my work. I've submitted to the Atlantic. I'd love to run something in the Atlantic, but you don't have to pay to publish there or many other places. They just have to like your work. What if you're a generalist and have a hard time identifying what you're good at? Common problem, Vanessa. There's nothing wrong with being a generalist. Now this session is about sort of focusing in on that niche to try and establish a voice. And I think that's a little bit easier route, actually, if you can find people that are interested in reading your niche and people that will publish your niche. If not, then it's harder, and you may as well just go the generalist route. But, for me, it was a better track to establish myself in a niche and then branch out. If you're a generalist, hey, just start writing, searching for, I wrote this today. Okay, find somebody that will publish that. Or I think I want to write this, to focus a little bit. Find the publication first and then tailor the story to the publication. But there's nothing wrong with being a generalist. It's just might be a little harder route at first. Then that's why I'm suggesting looking into this niche area first. How do you rank Medium publications as opposed to professional outlets? It's a good question, Christine, but I don't know. I mean, some Medium publications are pretty professional, and you can rack up view counts that'll get you paid just as high as an article you submit somewhere else. But money was never really my motivator. I mean, I like to write stuff that people will read. So if it gets viewed, that's helpful. And then obviously you do want to get paid at some point. So now, but for me personally, my primary writing venture is going to be the magazine column that I write every month that I'm paid for. I'm a feature columnist. I can count on that. They're counting on me every month. So that gets ranked ahead of probably anything I do on Medium. But I've had some very good experiences with Medium publications, being quite professional, some of them in terms of the review and editorial process, and in terms of what they publish and won't publish, and sometimes even in terms of the audience they offer. And you can get your stories out there and get them viewed. So I think it's a great place. I wish it would have been around when I started in the 90s. Let's see. This next one's from a fellow who's published his first novel and is having trouble penetrating the market. Seems like you need credentials. Sort of related to the prior question about imposter syndrome and not having credentials. I don't know what this particular novel's about, Ken. If you want to chat me offline, I don't even know how I could put my contact information in here. You know what? I'll just verbally say it. If somebody wants to contact me, it's my name. It's Chuck Miller, but leave the E out of Miller. So ChuckMillr @gmail.com. I hope I'm not violating any rules providing that. But, you know, if I knew more about your novel subject matter, I might have some advice for how to get it out there. I'm guessing maybe you self-published it. So, and marketing is a huge thing. You can pay companies to market. That's a big endeavor in and of itself. Let's see. When you start your niche, do you simply trust that people will come? Well, no, not really. I would say, if you just started publishing stuff about whatever, science experiments on Medium, you may not gain much traction. I think the better thing to do, Bernadette, is to align yourself with like-minded folks, and through different publications, through interest groups, whatever, and try to build an audience that way. I wouldn't suggest that's not what I'm advocating. Don't just put your excellent work out there and hope that an audience develops. I think you need to go out and seek that audience out. I haven't submitted to many publications. Is that the best way to find your audience? Is it hard to find it by simply posting without a pub? That goes to the last one. And I would say yes, Miles. If you just publish your stuff, some of it, I guess, can get curated. I've had some curated articles that I didn't submit to a publication, and they did okay. But by and large, I think that if you find a publication that'll take your work, you have that built-in audience right up front. We're getting close to time, guys. I'm so thankful that I found these questions, and they're great. What a session this has been. I'd love to do another one sometime. Some of these questions overlap a little, and I've kind of already answered, so I'm trying to skim them quickly for one more. I don't write with a collaborator, but I do have a very strong editor for my strength and conditioning work. And having somebody to edit your work always helps. But I have not written with a collaborator. I think we're just about out of time, guys. I'm so thankful to everyone who joined the session today. I didn't have any expectation at all that anyone would come to this. I see it's being recorded. I think it went great. If there's a way to answer these questions offline, and I can, I'll try to do that. If not, everybody have a wonderful day. Enjoy the rest of your session here, the rest of the sessions throughout the day. And please connect with me on Medium. Follow me, and I'll follow you back. And again, ChuckMillr @gmail.com if anybody has a question that I didn't get to and wants to shoot it to me. I'm not trying to sell anybody anything on here. I have my my other outlets for that. So thank you very much. I'm going to jump over to the keynote myself And, I encourage you to check that out. It's probably a great one.